Microphone check. All right. Hey everybody. So I want to tell you guys about my Saturday and what just happened. So I picked up this lovely chair, this Adirondack chair in the Hamptons style from Habitat for Humanity, and it's a beautiful chair. Habitat for Humanity. I guess they receive donations, and then so what they have in stock or available or in inventory, really depends upon what people donate. And so someone donated this chair, and now it's in my possession. Yeah, I'm happy to have this chair. I'm out in the California sun, enjoying myself. Airplanes are flying overhead. This is Inglewood, California. This is what it is. And I was reading this book by Ernesto Che Guevara, The Motorcycle Diaries. Reading this book here. I was reading it last night, listening to the audio book as well. The cool thing about it is that Che visited Machu Picchu, and I've been to Machu Picchu, and he writes about Machu Picchu as well as, he writes about Cusco, Machu Picchu, and Peru. So all of that is very near and dear to my heart because I've been to those locations, yeah? So anyway, he said something about, what did he say? Something about bureaucracies and let me see, which chapter was it? He wrote poignantly about this situation. Let's see how he described it. Bureaucracy. Now, I can't find it right now. I should have prepared for this video but maybe it was only a couple of chapters away. Maybe I can find it right now. Quechua, Cusco is pretty poor. Archaeological museum. Something about the I can't find it. Can't find it right now. Anyhow, let me tell you about what happened when I went to the store today. Yeah, I can't find it. I go to the store. Now, this morning I watched Dear Mama, the Tupac biopic by Alan Hughes, or is it Albert Hughes? The twins? I'm not sure exactly. And so I was in my emotions. I was thinking about Tupac's life and his legacy, etc., etc. I mean, so many thoughts have gone through my mind regarding Tupac. But the thing about Tupac is that I met him. Well, I got his autograph, and I guess you can call it a meeting. I was at the Beverly Center in Los Angeles. I was 13 years old. I was with my cousins. Tupac was at the mall, and he went to the Gap store. I ran up behind him to verify that was him. I had seen him in the movie Juice, and once I got close enough and verified that it was him, I got close enough, and then Tupac noticed that someone was near him, so he turned around and looked, and I remember him looking back at me, a little kid, and just acknowledging, like, okay, I see who's around me. And then after that, we were downstairs. Tupac was walking in front of us, and then I said, "Hey, Tupac." He turned around and said, "What's up?" I said, "Can we get your autograph?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." We got his autograph. I wrote it down on a little Post-it note, and I kept that Post-it note for about a year. I kept it in my wallet. So that's a great memory that I have of meeting Tupac, and it makes him very real to me. He's not a celebrity who's far away or far removed from my life and my experience. Our paths crossed, so that's pretty cool. But today I was watching the Dear Mama biopic documentary by one of the Hughes brothers, and I was very moved and touched by Tupac and his desire to help his people. And when I left home and I went to the store this morning, a couple of things happened while I was there at this particular store. Well, there was a gentleman in front of me who seemed to be having an issue at the counter. He was telling the cashier that he was in law enforcement, that he's a regular customer, and that he should receive a discount or something like this, something or other. I don't know the man, never seen him before. But I thought, well, if he's in law enforcement, then if he's a regular customer, then, you know, she should, I don't know, maybe let's not even talk about what should have happened, okay? I don't know the guy, and now that I think about it, he could have been lying just to get a discount. But she demanded that she see his identification, which he didn't present, and so they gave him an issue. I think he said something about he is in the system. So they already had him in the system. So he was like, why don't you just check your records? I don't need to show you my ID. I think that was his point. And so because he was upset, I noticed that he's a black man. This was a black man having an issue at this store. And just moments before, I had an issue with this store. And I thought, man, this is odd. Here I am having an issue. Here this brother is having an issue. I don't see anyone else complaining. We're both black men. What the heck is going on at this particular store? I don't go around looking for situations. I'm very cool, calm, and collected, and I let a lot of things wash over me. But on this day, after watching Dear Mama, I thought, man, I need to step up like Tupac and be more assertive, because I can't let things just slide. There's a part in the biopic when Snoop Dogg was saying, you know, if a brother is out there getting his butt whooped, are you just going to be in the car saying, oh, that's him, that's his problem, I'm not going to deal with that? Or are you going to be like, Pac, get up and help the brother? You know? So in this situation, I wanted to help the brother. So there was nothing I could do. There was nothing to be done. But I talked with the brother and asked him the situation. He explained it to me, and I was like, man, I told him, look, man, just a minute ago, I had a little situation in this store, and I don't know what that's all about. You know, we're two brothers having these situations here. And that was it. End of the situation, end of it all. But I'm going to tell you about my experience at this same store, right? It's a lovely store. I don't want to stop patronizing it. They have great food and great drinks and all. So I absolutely want to support the company. Now, before I tell you my story of what happened to me today, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened to me in the Middle East, in Saudi Arabia. Well, it didn't happen to me per se, but I was there in not Saudi Arabia, it was Bahrain. It might as well have been Saudi Arabia. It's a Middle Eastern country right next to Saudi Arabia. And so I was with a Filipino colleague of mine. We're both, he's a Filipino American, I'm a black American. We're Americans working in the Middle East. This was in between 2016 and 2018. This is when this happened. So my colleague is a Filipino American, and we go to this cafe. Let's call it Starbucks. And he goes in. We go in together. I sit down and I'm playing with my phone, minding my own business. Well, my colleague is standing in front of the counter waiting. Or he's actually deciding, you know, what he wants to order. Now check this out. Behind the counter, there are Filipinos working in this cafe. Now that's a Filipino behind the counter, a Filipino in front of the counter, okay? Of course, my colleague is taking his time, so he's not demanding their attention or demand that they take his order, and nothing like that. But in walks a white woman, and immediately the Filipino staff turn their attention to the white woman and ask her for her order, and they serve her. Now, they serve her before they serve my Filipino colleague. He becomes irate. What the hell are you doing? I'm standing right here. You haven't asked me to take my order. Why would you take this woman's order? What the hell? He just went on and on like, what the hell are you doing? I'm standing right here. Am I invisible? And it was the coolest thing for me to witness, because I'm like, wow, those are moments that, you know, black people have. But here he is, a Filipino, having this similar experience. So I'm like, oh man, this is interesting. So he gets upset, comes back, he takes his order, but you know what he does? He chides them. He chides them in Tagalog, the Filipino language, because he's like, damn it, you're my countrymen. Don't you see me standing here? Why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you ask me if I wanted anything? You just looked at me and thought, oh, he's nobody. He's not here to buy anything. So I thought that was interesting. By the way, this video is called Colonized Minds, because basically the Filipinos working behind the desk have been colonized. They've been, They've been trained, they've been conditioned to serve white people, or to think of white people in, they are the people that they should be serving. So, colonized minds. And that's essentially what happened. So he was upset. He came back to the table after he got his drink and sat down. He said, man, you know what happened to me? And he went off, and I just sat there like, wow, it happened to you. It happened to you too. This is not like, not being slighted because you're black. Here he is, a Filipino, an Asian man, being slighted by his own people at that. All right, so that's the story that I wanted to preface to say before I tell my story, which is I went into that store today, same store where I got this drink, this nice drink. So I walk into the store, and I'm trying to get that drink. The young woman who's making the drink pays me no mind. She's busy making other drinks. I stand there for a few seconds. She doesn't even stop to say, hey, give me a minute. No one else in the store happens to acknowledge me. They're all, moving in the background and whatnot. And I'm like, well, damn, what do I have to do to get some service around here? So I said, you know what, forget this. I'm not gonna worry about this now. I'm gonna walk away, grab some other items, and come back. So I grabbed some other items, and then I came back. And when I came back, there were two white women standing there they were there trying to decide what order they should make, right? So I step up. Now there's another woman behind the counter who pulls up. She's seen me before. She knows that I shop there. She knows, she's seen me so many times before. And she gives me the benefit of the doubt. So she looks at me and she says, are you ready to order? And I start telling her my order. And at some point she stops taking my order, turns to the women, and she says something, well, who was here first? Or I don't know. I forgot what she said. Whatever she said prompted the white women to turn and look, and I guess they assumed that they were there before I was, and they proceeded to give their order. So she completely switched from taking my order to taking their order. And so she's taking their order, and I'm standing there saying to myself, why did she just switch? Why? Like, why did this happen? And so as she's giving them the service, I'm growing more and more, frustrated and angry as I'm thinking about the situation. Like, wait a minute, this lady has seen me time and time again, and she just slighted me. She just glossed right over me. She proceeded to ask me, but then she switched. She said, no, I'm going to take their order before yours. Like, it was clear. She was like, nah, you know what? I'm going to take their order first. I'm cool, calm, and collected, so of course I didn't respond. I just thought about it, and in my mind I was just growing angry and angrier, thinking about my situation, thinking about Tupac and circumstances, and I didn't want to just buy into racism immediately. But you know what? I thought about the video that I watched on YouTube or Instagram or one of these social media sites, not TikTok. I don't watch TikTok. On this thing, they showed a black girl standing in the middle of a square, a plaza, if you will, and the black girl was all alone, unattended, unaccompanied, and no one came to her aid for minutes. Minutes passed without anyone coming to her aid. Then they switched her out. This was a social experiment. They switched her out with a white girl. Within 5 or 10 seconds of the white girl standing in the plaza, unattended, unaccompanied, she had people coming up to her, asking her where her parents were, if she needed some help, and just doing all of this. And they said this was an example. I think the title of the video was Racism Explained in 5 Seconds, or something like that. So seeing that video, I thought back on it and I thought, man, or rather, while I was in that position, I thought about that video. Well, no, not in that moment, but a few minutes later, I thought about that video. I said, wow, my experience explains racism. Pretty much, it sums it up. I didn't want to say that while I was standing in line. I still wanted my drink. So I was more focused on my drink than racism. And I wasn't about to blow up or do any of that kind of wild stuff. So that was the situation. So that was my morning. Those are the situations that I found myself in this morning. Those are the stories that I have to tell. And wow. But the other reason why I approached the brother to tell him, hey man, I've had a situation at this store once before, it's because when I go into that store and I tell them, or I speak to the Spanish-speaking servers, attendants, cashiers, and whomever, they are very reluctant to talk to me in Spanish. You know? So this is an example of the colonized mind, how they are colonized. They're colonized. They're conditioned to believe that they have to use English and serve the English-speaking population, who primarily is white, and so conditioned to speak English and conditioned to serve white people. It's just the colonized mind. We're in a colonized state of California. Look at the history. It goes back. Spanish colonizers, you know. It's all in there. Everything is everything. What has changed? Not much. Tupac lived. Tupac was right. This is just a wild, wild thing. You just have to write it out, I guess. Saturday, Saturn. Saturday is the day of Saturn. I was teaching the students in class about that, Saturn. And then Friday is Venus Day. What is it? Thursday is for Jupiter. And then Wednesday is Mercury. Tuesday is Mars. Monday is Moon Day, and then Sunday is the Sun Day. So I'm basking in the sun's glory right now. Those are my stories for you. All right, peace and blessings. Don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. That's all I got. Peace.